Start the recording. Okay, so what I have been explaining, yes, we have learned so many concepts in React, and it's a big list, huh? It's not a small thing. It looks like we have only learned so far component creation, but we have understood many things about JSX. We have understood props. That's basically for component to component communication. And this works, props works whenever we have only parent to child relation. Yeah. So if there are two components side by side and I want to change that, I want to exchange the data, this is not going to work. Okay. Okay, we'll see. There are some examples on how to make. Yeah. The another thing is, yes, event handling, important thing we use heavily. And then now we are getting into what is called as a state variable. Yeah. So yesterday, if you remember, I gave you a brief about what exactly is a state variable. So in React, we cannot use simple JavaScript variable to hold the state of a, yeah, to hold the state, and we understood why it is. So the thing is, yeah, though the value is updated, React will not be actually re-rendering the component. So React will re-render the component, or React is designed to re-render the component only if any of the state variable is changed. Okay, this is one case where the whole component re-render. Basically, if there is a count which is incrementing, then the re-render should happen. Then only the UI should get updated. For updating the UI, this needs to execute once again, correct? So that this value, latest value is displayed. And that was not happening with the simple variable or a JavaScript variable which you had taken within the component. Now, instead of that, we have gone for, creating a state variable. So state variable can be created using this special function called useState. What is it? It's called useState, and this is actually coming from again React only. useState is coming from React. So the syntax is, so we have to mention the name of the state variable, and this is a setter function. Yeah, I can write it like setter function. I can write it like set count. You can use whatever I want, and then this will be the initial value of the useState. Okay, so let me tell you the syntax. Yeah, a bit in detail. Okay, so ideally we should put const only here. Yeah, const, and then this will be the variable which holds the value, or which will give me the value, current value of the state. And this is a function which is going to help me state. We cannot directly update this state variable, meaning I cannot write count is equal to count plus 1. No, React says this is not allowed. The only way to change the state is, or the state value is, yeah, is to use a setter function, and for the setter function you pass the value. You pass whatever value, and that is what will be updated in the state, and that latest value will be available in count. Yeah, this count gives me the latest value whatever is there in the use state. So this is in terms of the first point, in terms of the syntax. Now the second thing, yeah, you can hold, you can create, not hold, you can create, any number of state variables. You will understand? There's no limit within one single functional component. Yeah. So I can create n number of state variables. For example, okay, I'll take an example of a simple login form, or it could be sign up form. So we'll also, I think, do the sign up form in some time. I think this will be a very good use case. So what exactly a sign up form will have? A typical sign up form will have email, right? Username, password. You will understand? A typical sign up form will have three fields. I'll have a username. Just a second, taking a lot of time to load. I think I'll draw it. Better I'll draw it. So this will be the name of the field. Yeah, name of the user name, and then I'll go for password, and then maybe an email. Assume three fields are there in my form, and this is one of the component. Now I am giving you a use case of, you know, you can hold multiple state variables. Now example what? Now for this I can store it in one state variable. Yeah, I can create one state variable for name. Okay, I can create one state variable for password, and I can create one variable for email. Able to understand? Yeah. So I'm just giving a use case where we'll create multiple variables. This is just an example. Huh? So likewise, you can create n number of state variables. So how do we create one? So let's see with an example. Okay, I'll make a simple sign up form, and then with that we'll understand we can actually have more than one state variables. And along with that, we will also learn like how to handle events, so that if whenever this name, password, and email gets updated, okay, so we will see the latest value is there in the state. All right. Yeah. So this is the second thing about a state variable, I mean state. So we can use useState any number of times. Another very important thing to remember is the state variable declaration. Whatever you are using here to create a variable should be in the top of the component. You cannot write wherever you want. Yeah, all the hooks React says recommendation use you write in the beginning only. Meaning you cannot, it is possible to write functions, correct? So we have event handlers, for example, handle click. No, it says this is a bad pattern. No, write all the hooks in the beginning itself. So you put these hooks on the top. Hooks, here we have got use state. Yeah. So in general, React has a rule, put all the hooks in the top of the component itself. Just like how we define all the variables within a function on the top. So React recommends use all the hooks. And this use state is actually called a hook. Correct? This is one of the hook, and this is a state hook. What do we call? The name is hook. Yeah. Third point, to always have a state variable or use all the hooks in the beginning only. Okay. So after these concepts, I said we have to use setter function. Yes, we can access the latest value. Yeah. The state updates, okay. State update means what? I use a setter function. I'm just repeating, state update. Okay. So using setter function, I can say a setter function and then pass a value. Let's say if I try to access a value immediately after the setter, I'm trying to access a value immediately after the setter function, you will see that this is still not updated. This is still not the latest value. We will see that it's an old value. Why? Okay, so the way React actually executes the setter function, the way React executes the setter function is actually called as in a batch mode. It will not execute it immediately. It is kind of asynchronous also. So you won't see that updates immediately reflect. You cannot access Immediately after setter function, if you try to access a value console log, you won't get it. Okay, let's see in this example. Okay, so now I am calling set as count is equal to count plus 1, correct? And you see what I am doing here, trying to print the value. Yeah, so let's see now. So what is the counter value? 0. After incrementing it, so 0 plus 1, it will become 1. So now here I should get 1, correct? So let's see what happens. See what are we getting here in the count value, which I'm printing at line number 13. Here it updated 1, but then if you try to immediately access it, it won't give me the latest value. Why? So all the setter functions, React will execute in a kind of batch at one shot, and it is going to take, it will not immediately execute the setters. Is it clear what I'm saying? Yeah. So that like this, there are a lot of points to remember about state. I know in some time you will get actually familiar with all the syntax, but these are some of the things you should keep in mind. I mean, and the list is not done yet. Okay, I have a few more things to talk. So I'll give you all the examples so that you don't forget it. Okay, next, let me tell you what is the next thing with an example only. So let's say I'm incrementing count. This is one time, correct? So just to make things easy for you. So yesterday we wrote this function called handle increment, and this function we are calling whenever user clicks on this increment button. So what is this? This handle increment is a event handler for click, and that too for increment. Now the update is happening. Now tell me if I'm accessing, if I'm doing count 3 times, I'm writing the setter function 3 times, and now if I click on this button increment, and that will execute this setter function 3 times. Can you tell me the what is the value if I click on the button once? I'll repeat. So if I execute the same setter function 3 times by setting this value count is equal to count plus 1, can you tell me what will be the final value of increment on a single click? Okay. Obviously, we might think, yeah, here it is plus 1. Okay. Count is equal to count plus 1. So this will be 1. Here will be 1 plus 1. So it is 2. And here it will be 2 plus 1. So we expect counter to increment in one go by a step of 3 values. Right? We expect counter to increase by a value of 3 because I have written 3 times. But let's see what is happening. And you see, even after all 3, the value of count when I'm printing it is 0. Yeah. So this is what again batching, and then problem with that, like even if you write multiple functions, the value of count will go by 1 only. So now how do you fix this problem? And why the problem happened? I told you it does not happen immediately. So you cannot expect that it will be immediately 1. So we saw earlier with this code, we saw that it is 0 only. Correct? And if you are writing one more set count, then obviously from here also it will be 0 only. And here also it will be 0 only. Now is there a way to fix this problem? Yes, there is a way to fix this problem. How? So we have to write this syntax within the setter function. We have to write a syntax like an arrow function. I have to write one arrow function here, which means, okay, just I'm just commenting. Now the way I have to write the setter function, yeah, and it's a proper way to update the value is I have to write one arrow function. And in the arrow function, I can get the previous value of the count or previous value of the state I can get as a parameter to this arrow function. Now I can say previous plus 1. What I'm saying? Previous plus 1. Now let's repeat the same thing 3 times. So this syntax is telling whenever I'm calling this, instead of taking whatever is a count, I'll just make sure that I take the previous value and then that I'll increment it. So since this is incrementing 3 times, so now actually things will work properly, meaning as expected. So let's click on increment. How many times it incremented? Here, yeah, this is same since it is happening in batch. But even after batch, if they are executing one by one, so the counter has to increment by 3 and that is working properly. How? Because, so this is a actual syntax and this is a right way to use a setter. So where I want to take a previous value. So whenever I need to update based on the previous value, example like count, I should go for the syntax. Okay, so, and this is a fifth point. Yeah, so fifth point about the use state. Now all I am talking about is use state only. Is it clear? Yeah. So I said, I'll repeat once again in brief. So this is a way to create a state variable. If state variable is updated, then the React, it will causes the React to re-render. Tell me how? You see the state variable is getting updated and we print this statement. We print a simple console log statement which is there in the component. You see that is getting printed. Second thing in terms of the syntax, yes, we have a setter function. We cannot directly modify the value. This is wrong. We cannot do it. Okay, so we always have to call this setter function. On top of that, you know how we are creating it. This is using a useState hook. And what exactly this 0 is? 0 is a initial value. You can give any initial value. You can make it even empty also. For example, if it is a string, you can put empty values. Since it is a 0 count I am using, that's why I'm putting 0. If it's a boolean, you can put false. Yeah, it's totally up to what that variable holds, and accordingly you can put its initial value. Yes, I can even initialize it to object also. I can initialize it to array also. That's totally fine. And I think in the next version of useState, I will talk about how to use useState for an array as well as useState for an object. How to use when I'm creating a variable and it holds an object or a array. Yes, you don't have a limit on how many number of state variables you can create, which is nothing but how many use state declarations you can have. I just give you a simple use case of if it is a password, the register form or a login form. Yeah, so in those cases, you need to hold 3 different values: name, password, and email. That time you can create as many use state variables as you want. Yeah, so ideally we'll not use in this case also, but yes, so for similar case, we can use these many state variables. So next thing, so always write these kind of declaration or state variable declaration on the top, just like how we put state or how we put normal variables within a function. So in a function, we define always variables in the top. Same thing. So consider this is a variable declaration and always write it on the top. Yeah, before all the functions. So in a component, yes, we can have something like event handler functions and other things. So try to always define on the top. Next, we saw state update is kind of a sync, and it happens in a batch mode. It happens in a batch mode, and here you will see the old value only. It will not show you the latest value. Yeah. And the fifth point was whenever you need to update the state based on the previous value. Use this special syntax. Yeah. So use an arrow function to get the previous value of the state, and then according to that, okay, so you want to update, add, extract, anything, okay, use this syntax instead of directly calling it, because we saw that example that it is not going to update. Yeah, so this I would say. Yeah, so how do we work with primitives and then the basics of it? Yes, suppose this, I'll also come and talk about sixth point. How do we create a state variable which is a state variable which holds an object? And I think then we'll see, I think object and array, I think both are almost the same. Yeah, so state variable with object we will discuss, and then array. Okay, so now with this understanding, let's do some hands-on. So all I want is you will have to create a component. Yeah, so that component name is registration form or sign up form. Yeah, let's say sign up form. You have to create one simple React component, nothing more than that. And in that, I want you to display name, email, password. Just display three input box, along with that one button called submit. Yeah, and maybe you can put a proper label and all that. So I want you to write a JSX. I want you to write a JSX with these three, and after that we will slowly add one by one. Okay, so once you return this JSX, that is step one. Yeah, step one is writing JSX. Okay, and then we will add event handlers. Yeah, event handlers. So specifically on change event we will add to read the value of these things. Yeah, and then another thing is step 4, like we will define state variables. Sorry, step 3 will define state variables, and then we'll see how we can actually update these respective state variables whenever the these inputs are getting changed. Maybe step 3 would be, we'll see on submit. On submit, how do we get a value of the complete form? Yeah, complete form value, how do we get? And in step 5, we will merge into a single state. Yeah, single state object, which is in step 5. So we will do all the steps one by one. So now since you all know this part, so I'll give you 5 minutes now. So you start off with this. So complete the step 1, let me know, and then we'll navigate one by one. Yeah, so hope this is clear. So I am giving you 5 minutes now, and we'll be back after 5 minutes. Yeah, so what I'm saying is, once you take whatever the you know sh- link I shared, you update this file, and once you update this file and save it, as soon as you save it, it will create automatically fork, and you will get something like fork, and that will be in your username. Okay, that will be available in your profile or your dashboard, and that you have to share it to me actually. Can you share that link? Sure, done. Yeah, so I opened this example, Ajay, yours. Yeah, as I can see, good that you have tried in mobile also. It's working. Yes, you put form, you put type is equal to email, fine. But you see, input doesn't have a closing tag like this. It should be slash. Email, input should be input type is equal to email. Yeah, input doesn't have a closing tag. Simple. Yeah. So,
Okay.
but I think it works in React, okay, to have, yeah, to have, otherwise you would have gone seen errors, so there was no errors also. You write like this, it does work. So no errors. So this is also going to work. But generally we don't pass any body also, so that's why it is okay to have like this. So in React this is allowed because this is JSX. Remember, this is not HTML. Fine. So what exactly you're supposed to do in this example, right? The missing part is you have to add a name for this. What you're supposed to add? You have to add a name. Okay, let me create that form actually. I think mostly you have done.
Sir,
Uh,
can you please share your screen?
missing, missing. Sorry. So what I'm saying. So let me show how to do this. Okay. So I will do what? I'll create a sign up form. So the sign up form should, I'll just keep a div. Why? Just to separate the fields instead of putting line break and all. I'll put a div for each of the fields. Okay. So one is, yeah, since it is a form, I can also use a form tag. Yeah. Action is equal to, nothing. I'll just use this wrapper tag form. Alright. I can also do a formatting, code formatting, try to learn how to format this code. So here I'll have a label and you see HTML for, so okay, so hold on to it. So we'll also add an input, type is equal to text, fine. The thing that you need to add is you also have to do what? Add a name. You should add a name because next we are trying to make, we are trying to handle this, inputs. So this would be like, okay, I'll say name and this has to be closed. Okay, now this is label, and label you can also use an id for that also is name. And why did I use id? And just for HTML for attribute. Now what is the purpose of this? Yeah, or I'll simply say name. So you all might be knowing, if I click on this, then it will highlight this. That is the reason for HTML for. So likewise I need three fields: email, password. Yeah, so I'll say next one as email, and the name of that field is email. ID is also email. Right, and the last field is password, and the name of that field is password, and also I'll keep the ID as password, and the same thing that label should point. Same thing they, here also. So basically this is what I asked you. All I asked you is write a JSX with this. Okay, one thing which is missing, let me add also another div where I'll introduce a button, which is a button, in our case a button for, okay, submit. Yeah, this is all I asked you. Fine. Now what's the next thing we are supposed to do? We are supposed to, we are supposed to write handlers actually. What I'm supposed to write? I have to write handlers. Handle name change. Okay. I'm just writing you. I have to write on handle name change. I also have to do one function called handle email change. Yeah. So similarly, I also have to do handle password change. So why I'm writing change, handle change? In simple, for these input elements, I cannot get the value by click event. If I click, I don't get the input value. Correct? The write event, you know, through which I can read the value of this input is change event. What's the name of the event? Change event. So now what I want, I'll give you this. Yeah, I think if you take the latest, so you will have this three event handlers added. I want you to connect with each of these inputs the respective event handlers. And the event you need to handle is change event. Getting what I'm saying? You need to handle change event. Apart from handling the change event, you should also receive event object. You know that event handlers will automatically pass this object. And from this object, we should what? So extract some useful information. I want you to print as and when the change event is happening, I want you to, in the console, I want you to print the value. Print the value of, okay, which input is changed and what is its value. So don't worry what it is getting printed. So right now you just connect this event handlers to this input. That's the first task. Second thing is try to print here. Try to print. I'll tell you the property event.target.value. So this value you print for each of the handlers. Clear? Clear what I'm asking for?
Change event.
Yeah, so what I asked you is the basics of event handling only. I have not come to the state yet. Okay, this is almost like you can consider second
Yes.
step. So I am saying now,
Yes.
so you use on change. Okay, this is wrong, not on the label. Okay, so you should be using it on input.
Sir, I shared the code link with you, like chat
Okay,
manipulative.
fine, fine. I'll check it. So I'm saying I have to use an on change event. For that, I have to connect this handle name change. Before doing all of them, let's see if this first one is going to work or not. So this is the first thing, like, okay, I want to handle change event means I have to write this property called onChange. To that I have to pass a function which is handling the event. And now let us log this value. So you asked me to log the value. So let's see what I'm going to get it. e.target.value. So how to check this? So this is a change event. I have to start typing something, correct? Okay, it's working. You see it is working? Yes, it is working. In the end, I'm getting whatever I have typed. Okay, now I have to repeat the same thing for all these three. I mean all the remaining two fields. Again, on change, here instead of name change, I should say handle email change. And the next thing here, on change, handle password change. That's all. And I just have to print this value. And in all the three cases, it is the same property. Is it clear what I have done? Any question or why I have done like this? So all I have done is an change event. So in React, if at all you want to handle the, any of the input field, you have to handle this change event. Neither click event nor mouse event will work. This is a change is a keyboard event. Okay, let me do check if email is working. Email it's saying wrong because I did not receive the event object. Yeah, so now check test@gmail.com. Yes, password. Oh, one thing I'm missing here. Yeah, password should be a type which is of, what's the type field? Should be a password. Where this is HTML. This is similar to HTML. Now we are going back to the HTML basics also. Okay, let's say password. Now one question here. Why is this printing so many times? Why is this printing so many times instead of giving me the full value? It's printing this many times just because the on change will trigger every time the input is changed. You see, now it is empty. Earlier it was password. So any character you type, this change event is going to get triggered. This you have to remember. Any question with this? Any question with what I've asked? You said you have done it, Money. Let's check what you have done. Sign up form, event.target.value. Yeah, if you're getting the value like how I showed you, I think then it's correct. Yes, on change. Okay, here you did not. Okay, label will not have on change. Huh? Not required. Yeah, here on change email change, and here you're missing on change. Yeah, yeah, right. So let me check. So one mistake is change it to password. Type as password. So is it clear so far what we have done with the sign up form? We have just gone back to JSX. Now we have done JSX part. We have understood or we have implemented event handling. Okay. Now what is the other thing which is next we have to do? We have to handle the state or we have to store this into some state variables. What I have to do? Store this into a state variable. So how do we store into a state variable? We have to create a state variable. So now use the syntax of useState and create a state variable for name. Same way you create a state for email and you create a state for password. Is it clear what I'm asking for? And then, okay, so what do you initialize for name? What do you do for initial value for name? What's the initial value for email? You set it to empty string because name is empty.
Empty string.
String, name is string, that's why it's empty. Password is also keep it empty. Yeah. So, okay, I'll give you maybe 2 minutes. Quickly add this name, email, password, state variables. You declare the state variables and you have to declare before all these functions. Clear what I'm saying? You have to define the 3 state variables, each one for the respective field here, name, email, and password. Okay, do that. I'll give you maybe 3 minutes to type in and see that okay, that syntax is working.
Sir, can you please share this link in chat? Code editor link.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, I'll say share it.
Yes.
I'm sharing it. Yeah, you take the latest one. Yeah, I've given it. Okay, let's see how to add it. Huh? So in this example also, I'll just try to add it. So you have to use const name and you have to use a setter actually. So standard, in general we use this set and then followed by the name of this variable. This is a standard convention. You can write anything. I can write handle name, set name, update name. You put anything. Okay, this is just a function name. So generally we put set and then the name of the a state variable. So use state and then we say empty. Now where is the use state coming from? It has to be imported from React. And this is a named export. That is why we are putting in curly bracket. If you remember, we discussed about modules, right? So this is a default module. Yeah, this is a named export. Fine. So this is how I create for name. So similarly, let's create one for email and set email. Okay, next thing is const password set password. So likewise, I create three different state variable and initialize each of them to empty string just because they all hold a string. That's why I put empty string. It was number, I could have initialized it with 0. Okay, this is all I asked you to do now. Now the thing is, how do I connect? Correct? So we have declared these variables and we have put them in the top. Fine. But now how do I get the value? Yeah. How do I get the value of this input into the state? Yes, we have seen this handle change or event handler is giving me the value. But then how do I get the value into the state variable? Anybody has a clue how do I get that value into a state variable? Now we have got the final value in e.target.value. And this event is triggered every time there is a change in that particular field. Okay. So now the
Sir, we can write it like, for example, set name. For that name field, we can write like a set name that event dot target dot value.
event.target.value set name. Okay. Yeah. So basically, whatever this event.target value is there, that I want to store it in the state. This is what I want to store it in the state. How? I have to call the setter function. Correct? I have to call the setter function and then say event.target.value. Isn't it? That's how I can store a value, correct? Yeah. But then this is not enough actually. Yeah. So the latest value is coming in handle change, that in that function itself, I will call this setter function. I will call this function. Fine. But then that is not enough. You also have to give a value prop, the state value. The state value, I have to assign it. I have to pass the latest state value to that input also. Now, what is the meaning of this? Simple. Okay. So let me write, or let me take this useState declaration and I'll tell you with the input field what exactly it is happening here. I'll also add an input field. So for this given input field, the event.target value will be updated using set name. Which one? On the handle change. What exactly this is? On handle change, I get the event value. That event value, okay. So that event value, I have to use the set name to store it in the state. Also, from the state, I have to write into value prop. You know what I'm saying? So I'm writing that we should write for handling a given input. We should write both handle change function, which is an event handler, as well as, yeah, I think connect this. Okay. So this handle change event should be there. Also value. So basically what is happening, it's kind of a two-way binding is happening. Kind of two-way. Okay. So whatever is in name, I'm giving it to the input. And whatever is in name on change event, I'm updating the state. You see how it is working. And this is called, okay, this is called controlled input. What do we call controlled input? Meaning the state of this input is controlled, yeah, in a state variable. Yeah, the state. See what exactly is state? So state represent the current data. It just says the current state. Correct? Currently, what is it? Is it on or off? Yeah, what value it is holding? Is it checked, unchecked? So that's what we call generally state. Yeah, some data, the current information like count, which is 0, 1. On increment, it becomes 100. So now to handle inputs, we, there is one technique called controlled input. There is also called one other technique called uncontrolled. I think we will learn this later. But now for a controlled input, it is mandatory that you set both on change as well as a value prop. And in the handle change, you make sure you call the setter function. And setter will just get the latest value. Is it clear what I'm saying now? Yeah. So you have to do two things. Use a setter and update the value, and use a value prop. So that value prop, you pass the value from the state. So you have to add to these two lines if you understood what I just told now. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yeah, clear.
For all of you? Okay, so if it's clear, I'll give you another 5 minutes. Okay, let me show you how do we do this. Yeah, so now we are connecting, yeah, these event handlers to the actual state variables. So all I'm saying is, yes, so use a set name because that's a setter name, setter function for name. So the latest value of the input will be in e.target.value. And the other thing I have to do is for name, I also said you pass a value prop, and this value prop you should pass whatever is in the state variable name. Now how do I check this setup is working? Very simple. After this input, this is since it is JSX, you can use an interpolation syntax. So use this interpolation syntax and see if the value is displayed on the screen. If you are able to get it on the console, and this is the value which is in the state. So this proves that the value of name, what you entered, is available in the state. Okay, so this is a way to handle input, and this technique is called controlled input. Now similar to name, you can do the same thing for email and password. Both are exactly same. I have to use a now setter for email and setter for password. Alright, I think with this we'll stop here for this session. So in the next session, we'll continue to do optimization. Okay, so I mean there is a lot of code duplication. You see I have 3 state variables, I have 3 state handlers, but they're almost doing the same logic. Yeah, so we'll learn a bit advanced concept of useState, so which is nothing but using useState with an object. Yeah, so we learn that concept, and for that we'll optimize it, and that we will continue for tomorrow. Okay, so finally, okay, I hope you're all finding this React learning very easy, and you're also able to learn a lot of things with all the videos I have been posting. So I usually never ask, yeah, so please do subscribe to my channel, yeah, with for all these videos, and also share it with your friends. I know many of them are actually preparing, many of them are going through. So if you find these are useful for a beginner, yeah, do share it. And those who are interested to join this class, yeah, you can also uh, leave me in the comment box that okay, you are interested to join this live class. So I'll let you know how you can actually get connected to me. Yeah. Thank you all for watching, and please watch this videos like till the end. Yeah, and don't skip. And I've been telling you each and every point. I'll try to tell you each and every point so in detail going forward. See you all. Bye bye.